Good evening and good morning, or any of the time of day when you're watching this video. This is Tracy Brown, your somatic nutrition therapist and attuned eating expert. We're going to talk about shame this week. We are going to talk about why we still care about what people think about our food and our weight. And we're going to have all of us, every single person I talk to is going to have their very individual reasons why it feels like no matter how much you know, that we care a lot. So I'm going to talk a little bit about shame, like the neurobiology of it. So I had the pleasure, and I've learned so much from a woman named Karen Scotto DeLuzia, and she's not an eating disorder practitioner, but it was somebody I studied with for about a year. I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and we just talked about shame for like a year. And it helped me to understand that shame happens in relationship. So nobody wakes up one day on their own in a bubble saying, oh, cupcake bad. I shouldn't have eaten that. I feel so much guilt and shame. And then it kind of goes down the line. If I eat cupcakes, then I get bigger, and then more guilt and shame. Nobody does that by themselves. So shame gets over coupled with our food because it happens in relationship. Like every single person who's ever had a concern about their food, their weight, what people think about their food and weight, have been shamed in relationship. It could have been accidental. It could have been like this constant, chronic, relational, like somebody that you're in relationship to that could be like responsible for your care, or somebody you look up to, or as an authority figure. And if you don't have as much power, you will start to feel like, instead of like, what are they talking about? They're not inside my body to know like how many cupcakes it takes to satisfy me. You're thinking, oh, they must be right. They know more than me. They're bigger than me in some kind of way. When I say bigger, it could be older. It could mean having more power. Could be having some sway over how you be alive and thriving, or even connected in the world. So if you take that, your personal experience with food and weight, and how you were or were not attuned to, who you did or didn't feel safe with, what you're going to find is like, well, if that didn't be prior to food become a problem, then you have this culture that we have that basically the job of diet, these diet companies, big or small, is to get you to think that you have a problem that therefore they have a solution for. It's just like anything in the self-help industry. It's, you're having trouble with, don't you just hate it how your body does da-da-da? And it's like, well, no. At first it's like, really? I don't know I had a problem. And then it's like you keep hearing the messaging, and that's called predictive programming. You keep hearing the messaging, and before you know it, you think you have a problem, and ironically, they can help you out with that. So they create a shame bond there with that situation, to where you got to look to them to be okay. You got to attach to that to be okay, even if it's the source that shamed you. And so what we're going to talk a lot about, at least more this week, is starting to look at, and I have some actual exercises for you to do, a little bit all this week. We're really going to get into like how to work on unshaming. So if you happen to follow me on Instagram, I put a book title out there called Unshamed. It's written by a woman named Caroline Springer. She wrote basically a memoir of getting unshamed in her therapy experience, which I thought was brilliant. It was one of my favorite books I've ever written, ever read, because it talks so much about like wrestling with like the incongruence. Like, but I thought that was true my whole life, that I was bad, and it's my fault that like my body was shamed, versus like, no, you did not have enough like people and circumstances that had your back around the idea like there's no wrong or bad body. When that's absent, we don't often have a neural platform to be able for this new information to stick, unless we are in unshaming relationship. So I hope you learn a lot this week. If you have any questions or concerns, please put them below, and have just one little like thought for you to do. I want you to pay attention this week, at least one day this week, to how many times you tell yourself, and you feel that burn, that heaviness of shame, that you did something wrong with your food. Whether it was an amount, you felt a certain level of fullness, you ate a certain thing, even though you ate the thing yesterday. And I want you to notice that and see that as apart from yourself. Like, oh, there's that heaviness that I ate that cupcake. Or, oh, there's that dread that I feel this fullness. Knowing good and well that, like, there's nothing wrong with being full. As an adult, 2020, you know that's true. As somebody who's maybe been shamed around food and body, that part of you is going to, like, get activated and feel like it's going to tell you all kinds of things, guilt and shame, and go back to rules and do something about it to get away from that shame feeling. So that's what we're going to be talking more about, doing and noticing and taking risk with this week. So if you found this video really helpful, please pass along to people who really need to help get out of these shame spirals around food and weight. Without this work, all we ever do is swing back and forth on the pirate ship of, like, shame and pride, shame and pride. This is why people run back to dieting constantly, because they feel defeat as if they did something wrong with their food and body. And then before you know it, they're back on a diet trying to fix what they think is a body problem, when really it's just not having capacity yet to feel the too much. So I'm going to leave it with that. I will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.